Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Dallas Regional Chamber. My name is Adam Anderson, and I am the Vice President of Public Relations at Whole Foods. Now tonight, I'd like to start off my presentation by telling you about the circumstances of someone dear to me, my mother. My mother was born in Singapore, one of the youngest of a dozen children. Now during this time, Singapore wasn't the wealthy metropolis we know it as today. It was a very poor nation, and life was hard. My mother had to drop out of middle school to work, to try to provide food for her family, which was not always guaranteed because of how expensive food was. My mother, despite all her great qualities, was held back by something greater and outside of her control: hunger. This hunger wasn't something she just faced all the way over there in Singapore all those years ago. It's something we face in America today. The United States Department of Agriculture defines this hunger as food insecurity, which is the lack of access to affordable and nutritious food and meals. 13% of all Americans fit the USDA's definition of food insecurity. And it's not just a national problem. It's a problem that we also face here in Dallas today, in the Dallas community today, a community which we wish to see grow and prosper. But before we share with you our vision about how to alleviate this problem, I'd like to introduce you to the rest of the team here at Whole Foods who have made this project their goal. So first up, we have David Abramo, who is our Chief Investment Officer. Then we have Minerva Vargas, our Vice President of Human Resources. We have myself, Vice President of Public Relations. We have Caleb Chapman, our Chief Financial Officer. And lastly, we have Joshua Chintapalli, our Program Director, and he will also explain more about the specifics of how Dallas deals with food insecurity.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Josh.
So can anyone tell me what they think the population is in the DFW area? Anybody?
1.6 million.
What's your name, sir?
Eris.
1.6 million is not close enough. The real answer, according to the official consensus to the state government, is actually 7.5 million people. And 19% of that 7.5 million people is food insecurity. So what do you think 19% of 7.5 million people is? 1.5 million people, actually. 1.5 million people going hungry. 1.5 million people starving, trying to make ends meet. So that means 1.5 million people probably committing crimes to put food on the table. 1.5 million people that consist of students like you and I that are failing their classes because according to the World Health Organization, poor nutrition links to poor cognitive abilities. And also, they are eating microwave foods, junk foods that make them obese, lead to diabetes, just any poor ailments that concern our well-being. So here's this map I'm going to show you right now. Is the South Dallas area. That is the area that we're planning to target with our solution of an urban farm with the video that I'll show you here right now in the Bond area that are already making efforts to provide a solution.
I had no idea in our country that we have communities of people that are sick and dying because they don't have access to food. I think if I had known that, I probably couldn't have just worked in the corporate world doing business.
They just decided to help people to get food so that way they won't be unhealthy.
Things that you see are diabetes, kidney failure, and stroke. We have an awful lot of funerals down here from people dying from heart failure.
We are creating relationships with people. At one time, nobody comes to Bonton because they were so feared and despised and rejected community. But due to this farm, on any day, we can have up to 400 people coming.
We decided we would commandeer this lot next to my house that would reach there, and we started building a garden on it. It turned into something much bigger than I could imagine. The mayor of Dallas came down.
They walked up to there and said, hey, at the end of Barrett Street, we have 2 empty lots. Here are the deeds to them. They're yours if you can use them.
And now it's easier for people to get food and eat healthier.
not only is it about food access, but it also has to be about rewiring their behaviors.
I ate terribly. I ate a bunch of fast food.
Teaching them about foods that they've never been exposed to before.
It's critical. You know, if you eat better, you'll feel better. Hopefully, you have a better life.
So just like you saw in that video, we're going to partner with this farm out in Bonton area, provide them resources we as Whole Foods can provide them. And I will hand it off to David, our Chief Investment Officer, who will go more into the solution.
Thank you, Josh. We here at Whole Foods, like you at the Dallas Regional Chamber, believe that inspiring prosperity and economic growth in our community is critical. For that reason, we wish to fight food insecurity, and our proposal to do that, and our vision, is through an urban farm, but not just any ordinary urban farm. We want to create an urban farm in South Dallas, the most stricken area with food insecurity, that is both modern, efficient, and community-oriented. Now, in order to really target this program, we have identified 58 households who have volunteered to take part of this pilot urban farming program. And these 58 households have been identified by the City of Dallas to be food insecure and have volunteered to participate in this program. Now, what does this urban farming program look like? Well, to get there, let's talk about location first. These 58 households are located just about half a mile south of Highway 141, which is in South Dallas there. This particular neighborhood is currently, according to USDA statistics, 48% of residents in this community are on SNAP, more commonly referred to as food stamps. We determined that this is a prime area where they could greatly benefit from having this easy access to nutritional food. Now, for the land we have secured from Watermark Community Church, who's a staple member of Dallas. This is land they were using for a previous project, but have decided to gracefully donate that land to us for use. It's already permitted, and the licensing required has been resolved already. Now, let's look at our timetable. For the past month, we have been getting quotes from suppliers for the materials needed for seeds, for the greenhouse itself, and other important components. The next major part will be getting technical expertise and coordinating a volunteer network with some partners at the North Texas Food Bank, as well as the Bonton Farms, which you saw previously. They have great expertise in this field and will bring a lot of value to our program here. After we get that volunteer network coordinated, we're going to begin construction on our urban farm. This process should take about a month. It is going to be partially volunteer-based and then also built into our budget, as you'll see later. We will also be hiring outside help to get us started there. Finally, after this part of the pilot program is completed, we will be planting our first run of crops. This will include things like the tomato plant you see here. Now we will be growing that in a greenhouse, so the time of the season really doesn't matter. It's just about what will be the most cost-effective in terms of the nutritional value these 58 households will receive out of it. After that, we will be harvesting. We project this to happen in the fall. Following this, we will plant our second round of seeds so we can get a long basis when we take surveys to see really the effects of the urban farm to these 58 households. Now, to talk more about what our measures are to determine how successful we are at Whole Foods with this program, and more about the staffing of this program, I'd like to hand it off to Minerva Vargas, our VP of Human Resources.
Thank you, David. We are going to measure our success through academic feedback, volunteer feedback, data collection, and participant survey. Through academic improvement, we are gonna measure like kids' report card before starting eating healthy food and after. We are pretty sure that they will improve their grades. So successfully they will, advance to a better place in school. We're gonna collect like volunteer feedback, like asking questions about how we're doing, how they are handling the food, how do they feel like eating like healthy food. And data collection will also help us to improve what we are doing, like maybe like planting like different seeds, like and better success of the farm. The participant surveys will ask questions about like health and weight of the participant, and our staffing will be like student volunteers, like volunteers from the North Texas Food Bank. They will assist us with products and handling, packing, distribution, and we are also like getting help from students for volunteer service. We contacted like 3 high schools in South Dallas, like Woodrow High School, South Oak Cliff High School, and James Madison High School. We agreed with the school administrator that the student can sign up with the farm, and the farm committee will report the grades to the volunteer hours to the appropriate like school administrator. Now I'm passing to Caleb, our CFO.
Thank you, Minerva. Before we talk about the budget, it's important to know that food insecurity is a product of a lack of access to nutritional foods. And the area we're seeking to target is going to be in South Dallas, and that area has been marked a food desert because people who live in the South Dallas area can't easily go to a grocery store or go to a local farmer's market to get access to nutritional foods that lead to them becoming food insecure. So we're going to look at the budget now, and our first line item is going to be our greenhouse. So the infrastructure for our urban farm is going to be inside of a greenhouse, so it'll be climate controlled, meaning we'll be able to yield crops year round. That greenhouse is going to take up about 39% of our budget. And our next line item is going to go toward our utilities. So because we're going to be farming and yielding crops year round, we're going to need to heat our greenhouse during the colder months and cool our greenhouse during the warmer months. And utilities like water and electricity also factor in. So we plan on allocating about 3% of our budget toward that. We plan on growing foods like tomatoes, spinach, kale, squash, and peppers because they're staples in our diet. And a supply for seeds of those for a year would be about $500 or about 2% of our budget. Going to our next line item, our materials are going to come from an irrigation and draining system that we're going to need because our urban farm is going to be housed inside of a greenhouse. It won't drain and irrigate itself naturally. So we're going to have an irrigation system and a drainage system added on, and we're going to need pipes and things. So we've allocated about 33% of our budget toward the materials that we'll need for our urban farm. The logistics that you see there, that line item is going to go toward the shipping of our seeds, the shipping of our materials like our pipes for our greenhouse, the shipping of our infrastructure for our greenhouse, and we've allocated about 3% of our budget toward that as well. And the last line item that you'll see there is going to be for labor. We've allocated about 20% of our budget toward labor because we'll be hiring a part-time greenhouse manager, and his tasks will span anywhere from germinating the seeds to checking on the crops to distributing the crops to our 58 supported families. So we at Whole Foods are prepared to offer $15,000 toward promoting growth and prosperity in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and we are asking that you, the Dallas Regional Chamber, meets us at $15,000 for our project. So I'll be handing it off to our VP of Public Relations now, Adam, and he'll conclude.
Thank you, Caleb. So this investment of $15,000 by the Dallas Regional Chamber will aid us in our mission, and it will make this project a reality. You know, our missions align, and we hope to inspire the community of Dallas to something greater than just worrying about when their next meal will be. Hopefully this project will help the community of Dallas become a healthier, happier community, and we at Whole Foods look forward to working with the Dallas Regional Chamber. Thank you.